What's up, guys? My name's Chris. I'm an entrepreneur in Sarasota. I'm sitting down with business owners to learn all about their journeys, their triumphs, their struggles, and everything they've learned along the way. Today I'm sitting down with Zachary Davy of Say It With Stitches on what it's like to buy an existing business and continue its growth. This is Stir. So I'm here today with Zachary Davy of Say It With Stitches in downtown Sarasota. And Zachary, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Chris.
Tell us all, who are you?
Well, I am Zachary Davy. I wasn't born in Sarasota, but I was raised here since 2. So it's been my hometown. And after spending some time in hospitality, I came back to my hometown and ended up finding my way into buying a business.
Buying a business. So how long ago did you buy the business?
It was 2015, so we're running on over 7 years now.
7 years strong.
Yeah.
What was that experience like buying a business?
Stressful.
Yeah, I bet.
The biggest hurdle I learned was coming out of hospitality. All the sales were already done. It was, people coming in.
Sure.
My only job as far as sales is if there was an upsell potential. Then coming into buying a business, granted I knew how to manage a business, but bringing in business was a whole new hurdle for me to learn.
Right.
It was getting through that. How do I keep acquiring customers? Because I bought a business that was already running.
Right.
So I had something to build off of,
People coming in, yeah.
but I didn't have enough to keep it going and keep it growing.
Got you. Well, yeah, but I bet having the hospitality side of things, that experience, that knowledge. Most people when they start a business, they don't have either, right? So at least you knew how to take care of the customer.
And I'll say that was my biggest advantage was I already knew how to talk to people.
Right.
So when I learned that all sales really was just talking to people, telling people what you do, and getting along with people,
Sure.
everything else kind of fell into place.
Got you. And I'm a customer of yours, so you sold me, right? Closed the deal.
True.
Right.
And I hate looking at it as, selling you. I like it as we have that relationship. It's also
right.
why I don't call any of my clients customers, is because client establishes that extra level of relationship.
Yeah, we do the same. More of a partnership,
Exactly.
a client, yeah, working with each other. I like that.
Yeah.
Now, you recently moved from your old location on, was that Washington or 301? Busy street. That's where I found you at.
Lots of traffic.
Lots of traffic. Over here to Orange. Tell me about why you decided to do that.
Well, the biggest thing was my landlord over there was selling the building. So he wasn't exactly renewing leases, but there were also some other issues with the building that I just needed to get away from.
Okay.
And as luck would have it, with the pandemic, this spot was sitting empty for a while. And we ended up getting a deal and got me in, and I'm loving the area. It's a whole new vibe. There's pretty flowers outside. There's a lot of sun.
It's very different than the other location.
It's beautiful here, yeah. There's still the traffic. There's still
Just as much, I'd
Orange
say.
Avenue tends to be a very busy road where people are just moving along. There's a restaurant right across the street.
All right, so you've been down here since June. And yeah, I mean, any excuse to come to downtown Sarasota, I always say, it's a good excuse.
Yeah.
So you're right here in the thick of things.
Well, and that was the biggest part about the location. Once I had moved, because I used to be further south on Tamiami Trail, once I moved downtown, that in itself helped grow my business. So when it was time to leave that spot, I had to stay downtown because it's just the area where the business and my clients live.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Have you found that since you've moved here, right, more local businesses are in the area, of course. Have you found that more businesses come in and said, hey, I drive past here, I see you all the time?
Absolutely.
Really?
I've gotten that. I get a lot of traction from Google Maps because their local search setting is right where I'm at,
right.
the 34236 area code or zip code. So that has helped a lot. Just the whole feel of the area, especially compared to the feel over there, has really helped things here. What I've really seen a lot lately is people starting up their own businesses and coming in based on that.
Got you. So people are jumping in. Maybe now, do you think that that's due to what we went through with the pandemic?
I think it's a big piece of it. I think it's why there's a lot of labor issues, is because people are just going off and doing their own thing.
Right.
A lot of people got laid off when things started getting crazy, and a lot of people's mindsets shifted into, I got to take more control of my life.
Yeah. We were talking to recently in an interview with Alex Garner, and he talked about the same thing. Like, when people saw that volatility in the job market, it's like, am I going to put it in somebody else's hands, or am I going to bet on myself, and jump in? I do see a lot more small businesses starting up. Certainly we get more calls that are startups than we used to.
And I'll tell you, after 7 years of being a business owner, well, 5 years at the time the pandemic started, I even thought about what it would look like shutting down the business and me going back to work for somebody else.
Sure.
And it really lit another fire under my butt, because I can't, at this point, I don't see myself working for anybody else.
Right.
I've set up my own rules. I've got the flexible lifestyle that I need for my family. And I think a lot of people through the pandemic saw those luxuries as well.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about that flexibility, because I've come in here and seen Clara, your new daughter. She's 11 months or a year old?
11 months now, yeah.
Okay. I've seen her here while you're hard at work. So talk to me about, that flexibility, the pros and cons, right? Bringing the little one into the office, but doing whatever it takes to get the job done.
Well, with her being 11 months, she was born right in the middle of everything with the pandemic. And so putting her in daycare wasn't really an option. Her mom has a full-time job that's where our benefits come from, because me being, it works out better that way. So the option was me being the flexible one. Where was she going to be for the first 6 months of her life? And she came to work with Daddy. And a lot of times she was the boss, because she needed her bottle fed, she needed her diapers changed. That never changed.
That's right.
And I had to figure out how to put everything else in around that.
Yeah, I got you. Full-time work and full-time work. Yeah, man. Now talking about getting the job done, right? I've come in to drop off, apparel to be embroider or whatever it might be, and you'll talk to me and say, okay, well, I'm 10 days to 2 weeks, right? And whatever that is at the time, you're pretty damn spot on, right? Like it's pretty much to the day what you tell me. Like, so that makes me wonder, is there a process that you go through of planning your week or planning your month to where you constantly know this job's going to take X amount of days?
More or less. At this point, it was, when I was starting out, a little more rigid than it is now. Because I was really timing everything, and I've gotten away from that and working by myself for the last couple of years. And now that I have Giuseppe here helping me out, I've gotten back into timing things out so I can keep an eye on where he's at, because he's been catching me up faster than I had planned out. But the process really depends on what the project is. Between the embroidery, screen printing, and heat printing, everything has its own materials that you need to set up, whether it's embroidery files for embroidery or vector files for the printing.
Right.
So that in itself is usually about a 2 to 3 day process between getting the artwork done or the files created, and then getting the proof out for approval. And then the actual production calendar all depends on how many jobs I've got in the queue, how many items are in each job, and so on and so forth.
Take me back to before the pandemic, right? Because every small business owner had the same struggle. Maybe
pandemic lifestyle.
Yeah, like everybody that went through the pandemic, even though it was different per industry, we all were kind of like on a wait and see, and what's this gonna do? Because it's all brand new. But take me to before the pandemic. What type of, actually not what type, give me an example of a struggle that you had in that first 5 years that you didn't know coming out of hospitality, not owning a business before, that you didn't know you were going to encounter, that you did encounter, and then you had to figure out how to overcome.
A lot of it comes around my ego, really, honestly. Yeah. And how that interact with people that I hired throughout the years. Because I always had a hesitation of hiring somebody to do the production work because they couldn't do it as well as I could.
Sure.
So, I was always, hanging over somebody's shoulder, making sure that everything was set up right. And it wasn't allowing me the freedom to do what I needed to do.
Right. Or them the freedom to get
To
the job
just,
done.
without having somebody, on their back all the time.
Right.
So that was my biggest hurdle that I had getting up to the pandemic.
And you overcome that.
Well, with the pandemic, it was either I had to or,
Right.
you don't know what's going to happen. So it was a lot more putting my faith in what needed to get done
Right.
instead of worrying about all the, am I doing this right? Am I doing this right? Is this happening right?
Yeah.
And the more I let go of worrying about things, the more things just kept lining up. And the business actually ended up growing over the last 2 years too.
Nice. Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
That's what's up. And you've been here a year, so it was already beginning to grow.
Exactly.
Very good. Glad to hear it. Talk to me about the future. You've been in business 7 years. What's the next 3 to 4 years look like for Say It With Stitches?
Really, it's going to keep on growing. Giuseppe coming around, tried to hire him before the pandemic, but him coming around earlier this year was kind of a savior in itself because he has the artistic background, so he can add that extra level to design. He's got an artistic eye, so he has the attention to detail.
Right.
So it's just growing with that, and then hopefully hiring another person, so that way I can take myself another step out of the operation,
Yeah.
and just purely work on talking to people and spreading the word about Say It With Stitches
Say It
and
With
Company
Stitches.
Outfitters.
I love the name.
Now, to go with that, I've also started up a coaching business around business and mindset and life to help people, especially after the last 2 years of being held back by all the turmoil between pandemic, politics, whatever else was hitting the news, to help get people into that mindset of what's going to help take my business forward instead of worrying about, is my logo right? Is my business card right?
Right.
All those little things that aren't paying the bills.
Right. I appreciate you joining us today.
thank you, Chris.
Valuable insight that you're providing. And so I thank you, and I hope to see you soon.
Absolutely.
All right, man. My man, we just appreciate your time and joining us as a guest. So the team at Aginto has got you just a little box to say thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
My
man.
pleasure. Oh, wow. Oh, yeah.